You guys want cheap? I'll give you cheap. Here is a DIY guide for mold remediation. If you are a homeowner who's down to get dirty and up for the challenge, I highly encourage you to DIY your own mold remediation. I could be putting myself out of a job here, but honestly, when you wear a full Tyvek suit in the middle of a hot summer, sometimes I even question why the hell I do this. That all being said, I think it is appropriate for people to know what it takes to do your own remediation, how to do it, and why would one maybe want to do it. So let's get into it. All right, so first thing is first. You want to identify the source of what is causing the mold, okay? Oftentimes, mold needs moisture to grow. So wherever there's moisture, there's a good chance that there's going to be mold. So find out, identify what is causing this mold. For the sake of simplicity, we're gonna just assume that there is a bathroom and a bedroom. The bedroom has a shared wall with the bathroom. Put a demonstration up here on the screen. So the pipe is in between the bedroom and the bathroom. There is a slow leak. And in the last 3 or 4 months, let's say, the leak went from a drip, drip, drip to a little bit more of a drip, 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 drip. So the leak is rapidly intensifying. And so one day you walk in the room and you look over to the corner and you see growth. Let's be real here. These disasters, these situations, they never come at a convenient time, which is why I highly encourage you guys to budget.
Daddy, chill.
I'm just kidding. So you go in the room, you find the leak. It looks really bad. It's like black fuzzy stuff growing. You have no idea what it is. You're just a homeowner and you start to panic because somewhere on social media at some point, or maybe through a friend of a friend, they told you that mold is really bad for you and mold is toxic and you can die. There actually, fun fact, has actually been an actor who actually died from mold, or that's what we're told. Brittany Murphy died from mold poisoning. And I'm pretty sure her husband died along with her, which is kind of crazy. You know that mold is bad for you. So what do? You get on Google and you Google mold remediation company or mold removal company. You do all these Google searches.
And then for the next week, you're getting targeted ads from like 10 different companies, all because you visited one freaking mold remediation website.
Believe me, I hate that too. So you get some quotes and you look at your bank account and you realize that those two things don't line up. What is the next best thing that you do? Do some more Googling. How to get rid of mold yourself. Is it possible to get rid of mold yourself? Can I get rid of mold myself and be okay? I don't know. Maybe the money isn't there, or maybe the trust isn't there. Nonetheless, you decide you're gonna take on the task to remediate the mold yourself. It is in this bedroom. So what we wanna do is we wanna gather all of the tchotchkes, all of the things that you have that you don't really need, that you're holding on to for God knows why. You're also gonna wanna get all the cats out of the room too. Honestly, I would clean that stuff too if it's really dusty. Some people, they have cleaning ladies that come like every week and there's no dust anywhere. If that's you, you don't necessarily have to clean everything, but for good measure and best practice, it's best to clean everything maybe with like an antimicrobial or something like that. Once the room is empty, you're gonna want to build a containment. Doorways, you're gonna wanna take 6 mil plastic, vapor barrier tape, and a zipper, and you're going to want to put that over any doorways that lead to other parts of the house, okay? The idea here is you're sectioning off the affected area from the unaffected area. Wild concept, I know. And what you're also doing is you're also setting it up so the room can act as a chamber, okay? An air chamber, a drying chamber, a negative air chamber. The room is gonna act as a chamber. Now, once you have your room contained off and your chamber is ready to be used, you're going to want to figure out how to get your hands on an air scrubber and a dehumidifier, okay? Now, this is a small room, okay? So we only need one dehumidifier and we only need one air scrubber. Now, bigger rooms, you might need more than one of those two machines. So keep that in mind. But for the sake of our example and simplicity, we only need 2 machines, 1 air scrubber and 1 dehumidifier.
But Justin, I don't know where I can get any of those.
Again, ChatGPT it, Google it, because I guarantee you Home Depot is going to come up and they're going to overcharge the crap out of you for equipment rentals. You got a hold of your machines. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the air scrubber, okay? And you're going to put it inside the affected room, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to find lay flat plastic. Okay, it's called lay flat plastic ducting. It comes in, I think, 4 mil, and that's the thickness of the plastic. What you're gonna do is you're gonna connect that lay flat ducting plastic to your air scrubber, okay? And you're going to find a window to the outside. Most rooms, last time I checked, have windows. Now, when it comes to covering the rest of the window, you can use a sheet of that pink foam insulation stuff. I personally prefer the pink foam insulation. It just looks more professional and it's easier to work with. Now, turn on your air scrubber and what you're gonna notice is the plastic in your doorways is gonna start to suck in, okay? And that's a really good sign. You want that plastic to suck in. It's almost gonna look like it suck you in, okay? Because that means that you have created a negative air chamber. Now, when you cut into your wall and you create all of this dust, guess what? It's gonna go in the air and it's gonna get sucked right out because you have an air scrubber that is negatively pulling air out of the room. This is a very important process of mold remediation. Once your negative air chamber is running, it is time for you to suit up. Grab a Tyvek suit, grab goggles, respirator, face mask, N95 at the minimum. We use P100 air filters, and most of the time you'll see us in full face respirators with N95s, full PPE. I mean, we wear the whole thing.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never.
While we work, because mold is toxic, okay? Everybody reacts to mold differently, and for us as professionals, when we do it every day, we have to factor in that risk while we work. So it's time to suit up and grab your tool. Now, when it comes to the type of tool to use while you cut, truthfully, it really comes down to personal preference. The really professional people use I think it's a Ket saw, and it has a hose attached to a HEPA vacuum. So as the saw cuts the wall, the dust is collected and sucked into a vacuum, a HEPA vacuum, and the dust actually doesn't become airborne. Now again, that is what professionals often use. You are a homeowner who's DIYing. Your best option is more often than not, maybe a multi-tool, maybe a circular saw with the depth adjusted, or maybe a level and a razor blade. That is the OG way to do it. In my opinion, a level and a razor blade is one of the best ways to do it. You're creating the least amount of dust as possible. You're in your negative air chamber, you're suited up, you have your tool. Now it's time to measure. A good rule of thumb is 2 feet from wherever you see growth. Now, you started cutting. The blade has just pierced the drywall and dust is flying everywhere and it's flying on you and you're starting to sweat. Drink water. So you got your drywall removed. Next thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna bag the drywall in contractor grade bags and then tape the tops of them so dust doesn't come out of them. So now you're looking at it and you have growth on some studs, okay? Your wood looks really wet, you have some growth on your studs. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna get a vacuum, preferably a HEPA vacuum, but again, you're a DIYer. You can either buy one. I don't know if you can rent HEPA vacuums. The best alternative I can probably suggest to you is to just get a regular shop vac and drop a HEPA filter inside that shop vac, which is what some people do. It is definitely by far not the preferred way to do it because it's not an actual certified HEPA vacuum, but it's better than nothing. And if you're a DIYer,
Better than nothing is your favorite term.
so you're staring at studs that have some growth on it. It's gonna probably look something similar to this. What you're gonna wanna do is vacuum off the visible spores, okay? Then what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna get an antimicrobial, a disinfectant, a detergent, anything that you can get your hands on. For DIYers, you could use a little bit of dish soap and water, mix that together, and that is going to be a detergent, and you spray that on there, get it to a very clean point, clean up all the dust, anything that you could see around, clean it. You want your room to be as dust free as possible. Once you're at that stopping point, you're gonna grab your dehumidifier, okay? And you're gonna put that dehumidifier in. And you're gonna point the exhaust, which is gonna pump out warm air, and you're gonna wanna point that to the area that is wet. And you're gonna wanna let it cook. Let it cook for a few days, all right? And in this process too, you're also going to need a moisture meter. You can get cheap moisture meters online. They'll work great for a one-off project that you're DIYing. Check the wood. A good rule of thumb is anything wood 14% or below. What we typically will do is we find our dry standard. We will go to unaffected room or find the same material that we're trying to dry out and put our moisture meter on it and see what the moisture level is reading. And then that becomes our dry standard. So the goal is to dry out the wet structure, which is like probably gonna read 100% wet, and bring it to either 0 or whatever the dry standard is. That is probably gonna take a few days. Could take 3, could take 5, could take 7 days, okay? So keep that in mind. And again, you can't take the containment down during this process. Go in every day with your moisture meter, measure the wood, make sure that it's drying. If you're finding where a few days pass and it's still the same reading, you might need to add in another dehumidifier. And also during this point too, with their air scrubber, you can remove the negative air and just kind of point your air scrubber maybe towards the area so it just adds more airflow on there. You really only need to do the negative air chamber when you're doing demolition. Fast forward, your studs are dry. What you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna get a wire brush, you're gonna wanna get a mold stain remover, you're gonna wanna get your vacuum, and you're going to vacuum again, throw a detergent on there, wire brush it, spray your mold stain remover on it, and get that wood looking really, really bright. And you can even use a power sander. The idea here, what you're trying to achieve is you're trying to expose a new layer of the wood, okay? Because what you're doing is you're uplifting any roots that the mold might have created. Now, a good way to confirm whether or not you performed your remediation successfully is to find a mold assessor, industrial hygienist, air quality expert. There's a few different titles for these guys. Bring one of those people in, have them test your work area. They are going to do air samples. They might do surface swabs. It's kind of up to them on what they want to do to test it, but they're essentially going to grab samples from your work area, send them to a lab, and that lab is going to evaluate those samples to see whether or not there are elevated spores in your work area. Now, before you bring this individual in, you want to make sure, again, that your work area and that room that you're working in is as dust-free and as clean as possible. This is really important. Mold spores that you stir up can latch onto dust and that can cause you to fail an air quality test. No dust. We call this a PRV, post-remediation verification, and it essentially is a way to validate that you have successfully removed the mold. What some people will do is if they think they have a mold issue or if they see mold, they will have a mold assessor come in before the project. And then they have the mold assessor come in after the project. That way you have two tests that you can compare. We prefer to do that. That is the most preferred way. I think any remediation company will agree with me that that's the preferred way to do it. But not everybody wants to pay for a mold test initially because they go,
well, I see that there's mold. There's no point in testing it. Just remove it. I'm already going to spend a bunch of money here, so just get it removed. So let's just start the process.
You want to do it the right way, get it tested beforehand. Totally entirely up to you. All that being said, I hope this was a helpful video. And if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. For somebody who does decide to do your own remediation, share with me your experience. Would love to hear it.
Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.